It's that time of the week. It's time to see who's on the SEC Unfiltered Fraud Watch. Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us up, turn us on, turn it out. I'm here with my good friend Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. Chris, you had a busy week, my friend. SEC Unfiltered was at Georgia, Tennessee in Knoxville. That ended up being an instant classic with the Bulldogs coming out on top on the road. On today's segment, we're going to talk about this week's Week 4 SEC Unfiltered Power Rankings. And then, as we do every single week, we're going to get into our Fraud Watch list for the week. Let's start at the top here. Look, lots of movement happening in the power rankings here, but it's been an interesting year so far through 3 weeks in conference with a lot of teams losing. And Chris, before we get into the power rankings, I got to say, this was one of the best weekends of SEC football I think we've had in quite some time. There were some absolute classics out there on the gridiron here involving SEC teams.
Yeah, Mike, really even across the college football landscape, too, when you think about that ACC clash between Clemson and Georgia Tech and that coming down to a game-winning field goal. That got us going early in the slate. But, yeah, I mean, there were great games all across, right? I mean, with that Tennessee-Georgia game you mentioned, I was fortunate enough to be at. We've been really grateful, really lucky early on, I should say, with some great games on the tour to this point, hoping that continues. But, I mean, that one coming down to the wire, obviously the field goal goes wide right for Tennessee. Georgia ends up winning it in overtime. Then you get the thriller in South Bend, Texas A&M making a statement, beating Notre Dame. The Florida LSU game was really interesting. I mean, it was just all across the board. You had great games and great finishes. And, you know, I felt like coming in the season, Mike, and I know it maybe sounded like lip service, that I felt like we were in for potentially the greatest SEC football season of all time from an unpredictability standpoint and a randomness standpoint and upsets and just more of what we got in 2024. And, I mean, I'd say early on the season, we're off to a pretty fast start. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. But, yeah, hold on to your seats, man. Buckle up. It's every single week. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that Texas A&M Notre Dame game, boy, I'm telling you, it had everything. A series of events with turnovers, kickoff returns called back, just big play after big play until finally Texas A&M came out on top. You had Texas struggling a little bit with UTEP early. And then you had the LSU Florida game that was a mess, honestly. But DJ Lagway, 5 interceptions on the day is a tough look for that young man. He was 33 of 49 for 287 and a tutty. But look, let's talk about this week's power rankings. Coming in the top spot, to probably nobody's surprise, my pick to win the conference, the Georgia Bulldogs in the number 1 spot, LSU at number 2. Oklahoma moves up the rankings this week to number 3. Texas A&M taking that 4th spot after the win over Notre Dame. Tennessee at 5 after a narrow loss to Georgia at home. Vanderbilt takes down South Carolina. Missouri plays nobody, but is up there at 7. As I mentioned, Texas struggling with UTEP. They're at 8. Auburn coming in at 9. This is probably one of the more curious spots, I think, because you want to put Auburn higher, but then you also want to just wait and see if you should put them higher, and they'll have that opportunity. Ole Miss at 10 behind Auburn, where they belong, always behind Auburn, but they struggled with Arkansas, who comes in at 15. Alabama played nobody. They stay at 11. Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida, 12 through 14. Kentucky coming in dead last after beating Eastern Michigan. Let's talk about this here for a second. Vanderbilt takes down South Carolina. Probably the biggest upset of the weekend. What do you make of Vanderbilt, man? I don't. They feel a little fraudy to me, but I don't know. I don't know that South Carolina should have been up there at 11 in the country ever. So, we had South Carolina on the fraud watch last week. Talk to me about Vanderbilt.
if Vanderbilt is fraudy, South Carolina is the fraudiest,
Yeah.
Mike, to say the very least. I think Vandy's genuinely a good team. Now, when I say a good team, are they going to go win 9 or 10 games or go to the SEC title? I don't necessarily think so, but I mean, dude, they're proving it on the field. I mean, they whipped South Carolina on both lines of scrimmage. There's so much more, I think, than Diego Pavia, who's obviously offensively the straw that stirs the drink. I totally get that. But you got to give Clark Lee so much credit. The way he's built this roster, he's built this program. There's a toughness, there's a grittiness, there is a true, Mike, call it for what it is, a delusional belief that Vandy can go out there on a week in, week out basis. I mean, Mike, here's the reality. Call them fraudy, call them whatever you want when you look at that block V, that power V, if you will. Unless something crazy happens,
Power V. Okay.
They're going to be 5-0 going into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
We might get Bama Vandy game day. I mean, truly.
No, Chris, stop.
You never know. I'm just saying that game will be so hyped up. So listen, call them whatever you want. I just genuinely think Vandy's a good team. They might not have the depth to go toe-to-toe with some others, and we'll see how they, as the season progresses, right, if they're able to keep this up. But you go on the road to South Carolina, you had a 16-game losing streak to the Gamecocks, and not only do you win and you snap that, but you win the way you did. Huge, huge victory for Vandy. And I'll tell you this too, Mike. I caught a lot of flack in the preseason, as you'd imagine, for saying South Carolina was the most overrated team in the conference coming into the season. I picked them to go 7-5, caught a lot of flack for that too. They look even worse than I thought they would.
I'm surprised because this defense was really good last year.
I thought they'd be 7-5 more so from the standpoint, hey, they're still going to be a pretty good team, but, ball bounces the other way. It's just this is a tough conference, tough schedule. It is what it is. They look pathetic, especially offensively. I mean, they look terrible. And I tell you this, if Lenoris Sellers is out for an extended period of time, them making a bowl game, Mike, is in jeopardy because they don't have anybody behind. I mean, Luke Doty's not it, and for whatever reason, he's QB2 for them. It seems as if Air Noland and the other kid, the Cutter, whatever his name is, 5-star kid, it seems like he's not ready. So, yeah, if you don't have – and even if they do have Sellers – Mike Shula, the offensive coordinator, probably the least popular man in Columbia right now with the offensive product they put out there. So, yeah, huge win for Vandy. I mean, we'll see. If you want to call him a fraud, comparatively to what?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it feels like everything feels like a big win for Vandy when you're Vandy, right? Like you beat South Carolina. It's a big win. You beat out. But look, at some point, you're right. We do have to start giving them credit.
They're changing the culture, man. They're changing the culture right before our very eyes. I mean, we'll see long term if they keep it up after the Pavias of the world leave. But right now, that you gotta take them seriously because if you don't, they just showed they'll come in and they'll whoop you.
Yeah, combination of things. Maybe Vanderbilt a little better than everybody thought, but also South Carolina not as good as a lot of people thought.
Yeah, two things can be true at once for sure.
Yeah, 3.9 yards per rush is a tough look, even though they.
I mean, think about Mike. Think about this. Not to cut you off, but Vandy took South Carolina to the woodshed. Their common opponent was Virginia Tech, who just lost to Old Dominion and fired their head coach. So you're right. Through 3 weeks, we don't really know like how good is South Carolina, how good is Vandy. I don't know, but you still got to give the Doors credit for handling their business the way they did.
Let's talk Auburn here again. Pulling this back up here, you've got Auburn coming in at number 9 this week, behind Texas, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Look, I don't have a problem with the top 4 right now. I think if you're OU, you've got a really good win versus Michigan. Time will tell how good a win that ends up being by the end of the season. A&M taking down a Notre Dame. Tennessee and Georgia again playing in a classic. Big win for Vanderbilt. This is what I think people mean when they talk about SEC bias, right? You overrated South Carolina, and then Vanderbilt gets credit for beating an overrated team while simultaneously dropping South Carolina like a rock. And those two things, I think that Alabama, Florida State at the beginning of the season would be another example of this. Florida State gets a ton of credit for beating Bama while simultaneously dropping Alabama super far. That one of the biggest drops we've seen. from week 1 to week 2, I don't know. Like, two things can be true at once, but sometimes, you know, you got to read in between the lines there. Some of these teams, I think, just not as good as maybe we thought. But a team that maybe is better than a lot of people thought, the Auburn Tigers. You're struggling to move them up your rankings from week to week. They're 3-0. They own probably one of the better non-conference Power 4 wins, justified, I think, by Baylor taking SMU to the woodshed. Sawyer Robertson looks to be every bit of one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's thrown for 400 yards. It feels like at every single game he's played so far this year. But Auburn beat them easily in their house to start the season. However, Oklahoma, I think a lot of people will agree, will be their first true test. Let's talk about this matchup between the Sooners and the Tigers. I'm okay with them here, but Chris, how are you going to give my guys some credit if they take down the Sooners in Norman this weekend?
Mike, listen, the stage is set. The stage is set for Auburn. This is the moment right here to ascend up these power rankings, ascend up into the minds, I think, of those who watch the SEC, cover the SEC, talk about the SEC. Like it's winning games like this that, you know, change the perception and make you a power player. And I think Auburn will be a power player if they show they can go into Norman and get this win. Jackson Arnold obviously going back to Norman, Oklahoma, taking on his old team, his old coach. I'm excited for this game, Mike. The battle of the minds, if you will, the chess match between these two with Hugh Freeze and Brent Venables, and then Ben Arbuckle on the Oklahoma side and DJ Durkin on the Auburn side. Like, there's going to be so much of this chess work. Listen, Auburn, I believe, has 11 sacks through 3 games at this point. What is Oklahoma's offensive line, right? They held up against Michigan. This is another test against Auburn. And I like John Mateer's game a lot. I think he's a baller. I think he's a playmaker, but he is a guy that he will put the football, I think, in harm's way if he's under duress. So stopping the run first is always the key. But if you can get him kind of outside of the pocket, moving a little bit, making quick decisions on the run, maybe you can force him into some mistakes, do some things he's uncomfortable with, and the rest is history. You can turn the football over, get it off of him. And then it just comes down to Jackson Arnold, man. I mean, I know it starts with Auburn in the run game, but you know, you've got those great wide receivers. I think there will be – the one thing Michigan couldn't do, they couldn't stretch the field against Oklahoma. Mike, they just didn't have the weapons. They didn't have the receivers, and the guys they did have did not play well. So I think it needs to be the Jackson Arnold show if you're going to go in there and win, and you know the emotions will be running high for him. I mean, I think this is going to be a great game. It's the game of the weekend, I think, and not just the SEC, but maybe all of college football. It's going to be a fun one. And again, this is your opportunity because both of these teams, we talked about the preseason, Mike, like this was the game. This was going to be huge either way. Both are undefeated. Both, I think, they're feeling good right now, but both are still kind of out of the corner of their eye, keeping kind of a peek at their head coach. I don't know how I feel about you quite yet. This is the one you need to have for both sides. This is the one that I think sets you on that path of making a run to the college football playoff, at minimum, be in that conversation when we get to beginning of November. So, yeah, you're darn right, Mike. You go win this game, the perception is going to change really quickly.
I have a prediction here. I don't think that Auburn stops John Mateer. I think this game is going to be about whether they allow OU to actually run the ball, and in addition to Mateer slinging it all over the field. If that happens, I don't think Auburn has a chance, because I don't think you win a shootout against this defense in their own house. That just, if that's going to be the scenario, Auburn loses this one, and by multiple scores. However, 4.1 yards per carry is the third worst mark in the conference so far this year through 3 weeks. And if you're Auburn, you've been super great against the run through 3 weeks. So you need to be good at the things that you're good at if you're Auburn, and that's run defense. And I think you live with John Mateer slinging the ball up and down the field as long as you can continue to keep teams out of the end zone, which they've been pretty good at so far this year. Now, Oklahoma equally as good at keeping teams out of the end zone. I see a low scoring. I mean, there's a world where neither one of these teams gets to 21 in this game. Personally, I could see this being a 17-14 game. I would not expect a high, and it comes down to those couple of balls that get thrown up in the end zone, and whose 5-star is going to make the play? Is it going to be John Mateer? Is it going to be Jackson Arnold? Is it going to be Cam Coleman? Right? Whose 5-star is going to come up with the extra? It could come down to kicker. In which case, I think maybe advantage Oklahoma here, the way Auburn's got going on in special teams. This is such an interesting matchup. As you mentioned, could be one of the best games in college football this weekend, Oklahoma versus Auburn. Before we move on here and we get to our fraud watch list, I do have to ask you, what, in your mind, if Auburn loses a close one, if Auburn loses this game 14-17, what does that say about the Tigers to you?
I mean, I still think it means they're a contender. I don't think it's like an elimination game, obviously. I mean, it means you went on the road in a hostile environment and you came up just short. I mean, I don't think it's –
could they lose this game and move up your rankings potentially?
It could. It potentially could. I think depending on what happens in front of you, yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, especially I think if the offense looks good, Jackson Arnold plays well, I think that's still kind of the thing some of us are kind of, just watching closely for, if you will. It's a quarterback-driven game, but – no, yeah, I mean it's a huge opportunity for both sides. If Auburn loses a close one, again, it's to me, it's like I'm not going to be selling all my stock on Auburn of what I think they can be or maybe what they will be. Right? It's tough to go on the road in the SEC and win. Like bottom line. So, but it is a great opportunity because I think as much as we think we know about Oklahoma after they beat Michigan, I mean, there's still some unknowns, right? There just are.
Yeah.
They've still got some questions in their run game. Like I said, I think John Mateer's a guy that, he's going to have a game or two, I think, where the turnovers maybe come back to bite him a little bit, where some of that erratic play, could play a factor. And I do like the matchup with Auburn's wide receivers against Oklahoma's secondary. I really do. I think there's going to be the opportunity for those big explosive plays down the field. You got to make sure you hit them, but I think they're going to be there. So I think it's a winnable game for the Tigers. I do. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I would imagine that environment's going to rival the one that I was at. It's a tough place to play. It is, but it's an SEC environment. Like, what you're getting yourself into. So you lose a close one. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a chance they could move up a spot or two because I think it's kind of like the Tennessee-Georgia effect. Like you kind of showed like, this is a college football playoff caliber team, or at least we think, and we went right there toe-to-toe with them. Hey, they beat us, so be it. We'll tip the cap, bought it, and bounce our way, but we're still a pretty darn good team. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel that way for both sides, Mike. Like, I just, especially like if one side goes out and dominates the other,
yeah,
okay, maybe we're having a different conversation. But if this is a 27-24 game, whoever the loser is, I mean, listen, one side's going to feel great when this one's over, and one side's going to feel terrible. This is just the nature of this football game because it feels like both sides think they should win, and that always makes for a fascinating matchup. But the reality is this. It's going to be a great game. May the best team win. But if you lose this one, obviously your season's not over.
Yeah, I agree. Look, Auburn's season, I think, is defined by what happens in these next 3 games at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, Georgia at home. We'll see. But look, there are contenders, and then there are frauds. And we're going to talk about our SEC Unfiltered Fraud Watch here right after a quick word from our sponsors, our friends at Abel's Iron Moore and Associates. Every winning team needs a good coach, someone who can see the whole field, call the right plays, and guide you to success. That's exactly where Abel's Iron Moore and Associates does your finances. They're fiduciaries, so their job is to look out for you. No sales pitch, no products to push, just strategy, guidance, and results. If you're ready for a financial advisor who's on your side, call 912-777-4128. Again, that's 912-777-4128. Or visit AIMAINC.com. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iron Moore and Associates for this endorsement. AIMA is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Call Abel's Iron Moore and Associates today. Also want to thank our friends at Sky Tobacco and Vape. Need a smoke shop that's always close by? Sky Tobacco and Vape has you covered all over Columbus and even across the bridge in Phoenix City. Whether you're cruising down Airport Thruway, rolling along Victory Drive, or making a pit stop on the 280 bypass, we've got a spot ready for you. From vapes to tobacco and everything in between, Sky Tobacco and Vape is your one-stop shop for good vibes and great deals. Swing through today. Chances are we're already on your way. Also want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Summer may be almost done, but no excuse to still not be outside grilling on a Golden's Cast Iron grill or staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails in your life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Do you have some traditional ailments that might require some non-traditional remedies? Well, the Rogue Shop might have your non-traditional remedies. Visit them again at rogueshop.com. See if they have something to help you out. I got Richard, longtime sponsor of the show, dropping a little something extra in there for everybody using code REPORT. Let's jump back into this. It's a fraud watch time. Who's on fraud alert this week? Sometimes it's us, Chris. It's me and you. So I put you on this graphic with me. But look, I have to believe that if you've got Oklahoma up at number 3 and Auburn at 9, the Oklahoma Sooners have to be on fraud alert this week.
Boomer Sooners on fraud watch, mate. Boomer Sooners on fraud watch.
Yeah, look, man, a lot of Sooner fans in our comments this morning essentially talking about how Oklahoma is going to dominate instead of just giving Auburn credit. And if you really believe that, a loss to Auburn will be absolutely unacceptable. I think Auburn's going to be a tougher test than some of them are expecting. And look, I'll tell you, I think Oklahoma's a very good football team. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think John Mateer is not going to do anything. I think he's going to have a great game. But I also think that Auburn is good at keeping teams out of the end zone. And whether Oklahoma can execute their red zone offense is going to be what keeps them on or off this fraud watch list. Can they score on Auburn? I think we'll all be on pins and needles waiting to see. But I got Oklahoma on the fraud watch list this week as a higher ranked team. I don't know how you don't have them there.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you love SEC football, Mike. As we get deeper in the season, we're going to find out who you really are. So this is one of those moments. We're going to find out if you're really worthy of that number 3 ranking.
Yeah, for sure. Next on our fraud watch list is a team that I think we can all agree probably should just stay there for the rest of the season, and that is Florida. Oh, man. Boy, DJ Lagway, 5 interceptions versus LSU. It was a rough night for the true sophomore there in Baton Rouge. Look, LSU's a tough place to go play. Better quarterbacks than him have gone down there and come out with an L. But 5 interceptions, no matter how you slice it, is a really, really tough look. He was pressing, trying to make plays, trying to get his team. They only lost this game by 10 points. I put Florida on the fraud watch list, but, man, I don't know, man. Should LSU be on this list?
Not this week, but next week. They're playing Southeastern Louisiana this weekend. LSU will be fine. But, yeah, no, I think, like, looking ahead, looking forward, yeah, I think LSU should be because the offense has just been so putrid to this point, right? I mean, again, how do you get 5 turnovers on somebody and score 20 points? I mean, and really, you only scored 13 because one of them was a pick 6. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy, but back to Florida, man. We're reaching. We're right back where we were last year. It feels like we're back where we started with Billy Napier, Mike. We're back to like dead man walking territory, and they've got a game at Miami this weekend that I tell you, Florida. And I don't think this team will quit on Billy Napier, but if they don't show up and play better, Miami's got they've got the dudes to go out there and dog walk them a little bit, go out there and take them to the woodshed. And if that happens, I don't know, man. I mean. It's only getting worse. It feels like it's only getting worse for the Gators.
Yeah, it feels like they've delayed what a lot of people thought would happen last season. one year, and this season it's all catching up to them. I mean, that was college football's toughest schedule ever last season, if you ask me.
And I mean, I understood. I mean, listen, I understood bringing him back because the way they finished the season, it's like, man, you almost like you earned your way back. But you are right. Like at a place like Florida, heck, you could say at a place like Auburn, at a place like LSU, when you have these high expectations, to me, it should be very simple. Do you look at your head coach right now and say that we believe in our heart of hearts this guy can get us to a national championship? If you don't believe that, or at least let's say a college football playoff, if you don't wholeheartedly believe that, you're kind of just wasting your time. Like you said, you're delaying the inevitable. So I think the answer is pretty clear at this point, though.
Last on the fraud watch list this week, as we talked about a little bit on the first half, but boy, South Carolina,
the
my
fraudiest
goodness.
of frauds.
What a disaster. Lenora Sellers or bust for the Gamecocks, getting beat 31-7 by Vandy. I don't look, man. Every time you want to believe in South Carolina, they let you down. I don't know.
I told everybody that would listen in the preseason that if you had South Carolina ranked in the preseason anywhere near your top 10, you were absolutely insane. And this is why. Like they have the questions that I thought they'd have. They still can't block on the offensive line. They don't have proven weapons on the outside at wide receiver. They had a first-year offensive coordinator. Granted, the guy's experienced, but first year at South Carolina calling the shots. They lost a ton on defense. And what do you know? No pun intended, Mike. It's all coming home to roost. All of it. All at once. Now, again, I didn't expect them to lose by 24 points to Vandy, but I'm not totally shocked at the struggles they're having. I think, like you said, we got, and I get it, Lenora Sellers is a special talent. But I think a lot of folks got so lost and so caught up in all that it's like they forgot to look at the rest of the football team. Like, South Carolina has serious issues. I don't think they're just like they're cold or, they got some real problems. I mean, Mike, they're now a 12.5-point dog at Mizzou. And if Lenora Sellers don't play, Mizzou's covering that and then some. I don't even think it'll be close. So, yeah, I mean, the fall from grace, my goodness, from top 15 in the country to unranked in the span of a week.
Wow.
But, that's what happens when you get your teeth kicked in like they did against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, could not agree more. Look, that's our fraud watch list here. We'll see how it plays out. We've got another great week of SEC football coming this weekend. Again, I think Oklahoma and Auburn highlight what should be a very good slate of games. Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. Man, I want to thank you for joining me as always. Before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, Mike, you're the man. I always look forward to this segment every single week, so I appreciate you having me. Yeah, we're at SEC Unfiltered, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Also, all social media channels, wherever you get your social media, also podcast, YouTube, our website, secunfiltered.com. And the SEC Unfiltered Tour, Mike, rages on this weekend. We are in Columbia, Missouri for the Battle for the Mayor's Cup, MIZ and South Carolina. And I can assure you, all those Auburn folks, we are making a trip down to the Plains. You just got to wait a little bit longer later in this season. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Guys, please follow SEC Unfiltered and Chris as they do their tour week to week. Great stuff. That's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, brought to you by our friends at setsforsociety.ai. The road to knowing self better starts with Sets for Society. They have custom personality assessments that let you know a little bit more about how you think, how those around you think, and how you guys can best think together to achieve like goals. Visit setsforsociety.ai to get your custom personality assessment started today. We want to hear from you. What do you think about our fraud list? Who do you think should be on the fraud watch list? And do you agree with Chris's rankings? Again, we want to hear from you. Who should be ranked at 1? Hell, get in the comment section and rank them 1 to 16 yourself. We want to see what you guys think. And while you're in the comment section, do us a favor. Smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. CW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.